And joining me now in the studio is Raymond Gilpin. He's a Dean of Academic Affairs at the Africa Center here in Washington. Get to Brics in just a moment, but this was the first time a leader from China had visited Rwanda. I wanted to ask you about that, the significance of that. What is that message that he sends by going there?
Well, I think there are three important messages. The first is that it's no longer business as usual. As you probably know, Rwanda bucks the narrative of China only engaging primarily with mineral-rich countries or coastal countries who become part of the Belt Road Initiative. Rwanda is neither. The second is Rwanda's president currently holds the chair of the African Union. And thirdly, Rwanda is increasingly becoming a service hub in East Africa. And so since Chinese engagement is diversifying away from mining and focusing more on manufacturing and services, seeing Rwanda as a multiplier makes sense in the medium to longer term.
Talk to me about China's engagement. It seems to be very much engaged on the continent. How does it differ from the way the U.S. has related to the continent, would you say?
China's engagement has evolved. About 2 decades ago, 3 decades ago, it was led by state-owned enterprises. And now data that we have seems to show that upwards of 80% of engagement is by private Chinese firms, not by state-owned enterprises. A second big switch has been the fact that Chinese companies are investing a lot more in infrastructure, a lot more long-term greenfield and brownfield investments, which requires a bit of an appetite for the longer-term engagement model. And thirdly, China is becoming a little bit more aggressive in financing big investment projects. Again, another longer-term engagement strategy.
So, of course, the continent itself falls right into the Belt and Road Initiative in that sense, because there's a thirst for infrastructure, isn't there?
Absolutely. There is a thirst for infrastructure. Quite a bit of it is not Belt and Road related. A lot of the ports and railway infrastructure along the East African coast are part of the Belt Road. But in places as inland as Rwanda, one of the things that was taken off the table quite early, because there had been some talk about a possible rail link between Kigali, the capital of Rwanda, and the coast. That was taken off the table in this conversation, which kind of surprised a lot of people who were expecting a clear Belt Road link, but there isn't one. But on the other hand, there's still a lot of, apparently there are 15 major deals being signed with the Rwandan government. So I think China is trying to court Rwanda both as a regional anchor and also because of President Kagame's leadership in the African Union.
South Africa hosting the Brics Summit. It's a country that really has had difficulty with growth. A new leader, Cyril Ramaphosa. This is kind of their chance to be out there on the world stage in a sense. Talk to me about the importance of the Brics Summit there, and what are they hoping to achieve? And how do you see it unfolding, the summit itself?
Well, you know, a major talking point for the Brics Summit has been what's happening to trade, multilaterally, globally, and also bilaterally. And Chinese and African countries are going to be hoping to get, you know, serious bilateral deals with the Chinese that work for them and that make sense for them. And they're also going to be able to, hope to be able to get some serious financing commitments that are not debt enhancing. One of the big problems that we're having now is the fact that a few African countries who have received significant Chinese investment for major infrastructure projects are now forecast to be going to have problems repaying those amounts when they come due. A second big challenge is that the trade balance between China and African countries is moving in a negative direction. Between 2011 and 2014, cumulative trade surplus in Africa's favor was a little over $70 billion US. In just 2 years, 15 and 16, that was completely wiped away by a deficit. And so countries are worried about about these trends and what they portend for growth in all of these fragile economies.
Well, we'll be watching all of that. Raymond, thanks so much for your analysis. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.